হ্যালো এভরিওয়ান, ওয়েলকাম টু দি রিসার্চ ক্লাসেস। তো তোমরা জানো যে আমি একটা কমপ্লেক্স নাম্বারের সিরিজ স্টার্ট করেছি। তো সেই সিরিজটাতে এটা আমার সেকেন্ড ভিডিও। আমি আমার ফার্স্ট ভিডিওতে না কমপ্লেক্স নাম্বারে দেখবে ডিটেলসে ডিসকাস করেছি হোয়াট ইজ মডুলার অ্যান্ড অ্যামপ্লিটিউড অফ আ কমপ্লেক্স নাম্বার। যারা এই ভিডিওটা দেখোনি তারা অবশ্যই তোমরা প্লে লিস্টে গিয়ে তোমরা এই ভিডিওটা দেখে নেবে। আমি এই ভিডিওর ডেসক্রিপশন বক্সে না আমি আমার সেই আগের ভিডিওটার লিঙ্কটা দিয়ে দেবো। তো তোমরা এই মডুলাস আর অ্যামপ্লিটিউড কি করে পার করতে হয় কমপ্লেক্স নাম্বারে ডিটেলস আমি সলিউশন করেছি, তোমরা দেখে নিও। তো আজকের ক্লাসে আমি যেটা করতে চলেছি সেটা তোমার হচ্ছে কনজুগেট অফ আ কমপ্লেক্স নাম্বার আর তার কিছু ইম্পর্টেন্ট প্রপার্টিজ। তো দেখো, তো কনজুগেট অফ আ কমপ্লেক্স নাম্বার বলতে আমরা কি বুঝি? হোয়াট ইজ দ্য মিনিং অফ কনজুগেট? তো conjugate is, suppose we have a complex number z is equal to x plus iy. So therefore we know the geometric representation of z is equal to x plus iy. তার মানেটা কি? Suppose here is my x and here is my y coordinate. So my x comma y, that will be this. This is my length of y, this is my length of x. In that case, we know that my x comma y, that is equivalent to x plus iy. I have discussed all these things in my first video. Okay, so before watching this video, you must go through my first video on complex number. Okay, so very important video. It's amplitude, how to find the amplitude of a complex number. So this is my point x comma y is equivalent to x plus iy. So we define conjugate of z. Okay, by this notation z conjugate. This z bar actually denotes z conjugate. What is the meaning of z conjugate? So z conjugate means x minus iy. That means if this is my x plus iy, if this is my point x plus iy, my x minus iy, that will be my this point. This is my x comma minus y, which is equivalent to x minus iy. That means if it is the point x plus iy, it is simply my x minus iy. So basically, from this diagram, it is very clear that x minus iy is simply a reflection of x plus iy. It's a mirror reflection. Okay, my mirror is x-axis. Say that. Suppose this is my x-axis. This is your position. Then this position would be your reflection. Just like that, if this point is x plus iy, its conjugate means x minus iy can be given by its reflection, mirror reflection. That is why geometrically we can define conjugate like this. Conjugate means z bar is basically reflection of the point z in the real axis. Real axis means x-axis. As we know, my x-axis is the real axis. My y-axis is imaginary axis. My imaginary axis is my imaginary, and this is my real axis. So this point gets reflected through this axis. That means my x-axis is treated as mirror, and this is my point x comma minus y. That is why this is my geometric interpretation of conjugate of a complex number. তো দেখো আমরা দেখলাম যে কনজুগেটটা কি হয় and what is its geometric interpretation. তো দেখো আমরা নেক্সট পেজে আমরা দেখবো some very important properties of conjugate. So conjugate কিছু ইম্পর্টেন্ট প্রপার্টি আছে। ফার্স্ট প্রপার্টি হচ্ছে z conjugate is equal to z. It's very easy to prove. It's very easy to prove. Suppose my z is x plus iy, then my z conjugate, that will be x minus iy. So conjugate means what? The plus sign will be is replaced by minus sign because it gets reflected. রিফ্লেকশনের পরে না প্লাস সাইনটা মাইনাস সাইন হয়ে যাচ্ছে, এটাই তো তোমার কনজুগেট। সো আমি যদি এর উপর আবার কনজুগেট নিই না, ইফ উই টেক এগেইন কনজুগেট, এটা আবার রিফ্লেকশন আসবে, তো মাইনাসের রিফ্লেকশন কি হয়ে যাবে, আবার প্লাস হয়ে যাবে না, এন্ড হুইচ ইজ মাই জেড। এই দেখো জেড কনজুগেট ঠিক হলো, প্লাসটা রিফ্লেক্ট হয়ে গেল মাইনাস সাইনে, দেন আবার যে কনজুগেট হলো মাইনাসটা রিফ্লেক্ট হলো প্লাস সাইনে। সো ইচ টাইম ইট গেটস reflected in real axis. That is why we say that z conjugate and then again conjugate, it is simply by z. Okay, so very easy proof. You can do it yourself. Then my next property is z1 plus minus z2 conjugate. Suppose we are taking plus sign. So this property says Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate. That must be Z1 conjugate plus of Z2 conjugate, right? See that Z1 plus minus Z2 conjugate, that will be Z1 conjugate plus Z2 conjugate or minus. So how you can prove that? Suppose my Z1 is X1 plus I into Y1. My Z2 is X2 plus I into Y2. Say these are my Z1 plus Z2. Okay, done. So what will be my Z1 plus Z2? So Z1 plus Z2 means what? Add all real, okay, we are adding all real numbers. Then here we are adding all imaginary numbers. This is called addition of a complex number. Addition means add all the real numbers, then add all the imaginary numbers. Okay, this is my Z1 plus Z2. Now we need to find Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate. I can do that. We again know that conjugate means my plus sign will be replaced by minus sign and vice versa. So here it is my plus sign, it gets reflected, it becomes minus sign. So this is my Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate. Clear? Okay. Now, what is my right hand side? Say that, what is my Z1 conjugate plus Z2 conjugate? See, my Z1 is this. So my Z1 conjugate, that will be X1 minus IY1 plus Z2 conjugate. My Z2 conjugate will be X2 minus I into Y2. This is my Z1 conjugate. That is my Z2 conjugate. Okay, right? So if we add them, we shall get it is my X1 plus X2. And if we take minus I common, this will be Y1 plus Y2. See that? I see that if we X1 plus X2 and if we take minus I common, this must be Y1 plus Y2. Okay? So see that this is my Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate. And this is my Z1 conjugate plus Z2 conjugate. Okay? So you can see that we can write Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate, that is equal to Z1 conjugate plus of Z2 conjugate. Okay? That is my property. Say that my Z1 plus Z2 conjugate is this. Same is my Z1 conjugate plus Z2 conjugate. X1 plus X2, taking minus I common, it is Y1 plus Y2. So my property is proved. Similarly, you can prove that Z1 minus Z2 whole conjugate is equal to Z1 conjugate minus Z2 conjugate. So my second property is also known. Similarly, proof is similar as before. Now my third property is Z1 into Z2 whole conjugate equal to Z1 conjugate into Z2. How we can do it? How we can do that? My property number 3. Okay. What is my property number 3? My property number 3 is Z1 into Z2 whole conjugate. That must be Z1 conjugate into Z2 conjugate. So Z1 into Z2. Suppose again my Z1 is X1 plus I into Y1. My Z2 is X2 plus I into Y2. Then whole conjugate. So my Z1 into Z2 whole conjugate. So if we multiply them, this will be X1 into X2. Okay, just a multiplication. X1 into X2 plus of I into X1 into Y2 plus I into X2 into Y1 plus I into I is I square into Y1 into Y2. I square into I1 into Y2. This is equal to, see that X1, X2 remain as it is. I square means minus 1. This will be minus of Y1 into Y2. X1, X2, I square means minus 1. This will be minus of y1 into y2. And from these two, if we take I common, this will be x1 y2 plus of x2 y1. Okay. Taking I common, this will be x1 y2 plus x2 y1. So there is my sorry, and that'll be whole conjugate. There will be whole conjugate. Okay, now say that there's a plus sign. So after taking conjugate, this will be after taking conjugate, my plus sign will be minus sign. So this portion is my Z1 into Z2 whole conjugate. Okay, so Z1 into Z2 whole conjugate. Now what is my right hand side? My right hand side is this Z1 conjugate into Z2 conjugate. Okay. So my Z1 conjugate, if my Z1 is what? My Z1 is x1 plus iy1. My Z1 conjugate, that will be x1 minus iy1. My Z2 conjugate, okay, my Z1 is what? My Z1 is this. My Z1 is x1 plus iy1. So my Z1 conjugate, that must be x1 minus iy1. Similarly, my Z2 conjugate, this is my Z2. My Z2 conjugate, that will be x2 minus iy. Okay, done. Then, if we multiply them, x1 into x2 minus I into x1 into y2 minus I into x2 into y1 minus a plus I squared into y1 into y2. Giving you x1, x2, I square means minus 1. And from these two, you can take minus I common. This will be x1, y2 plus x2, y1. So see that these two are equal. See that these two are equal. That means what? That means my Z1 into Z2 whole conjugate is equal to my Z1 conjugate. Sorry. My Z1 conjugate into Z2. Say that. Similarly, property 4, try to solve yourself. Okay, try to solve yourself, try to prove yourself. Z1 by Z2 whole conjugate is equal to Z1 conjugate by Z2 conjugate. Try to solve yourself. Now, this property is important. Okay, because from this property, you may get questions in exam. Okay, এই প্রপার্টির উপর তোমরা কোশ্চেন পেতে পারো, তো এটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট প্রপার্টি আছে। তোমরা সবাই ভিডিওটা দেখে নিও, তোমরা আমি এটা মুছে দিলাম, তো দেখে নিও ভিডিওটা, এটা পজ করে একটু দেখে নিও। Then my property number 5, it is my Z into Z conjugate is modulus of Z whole square. So how we can show this? So my Z is x plus iy. We know my Z bar, that will be x minus iy. If Z is equal to x plus iy, my Z bar, that will be x minus iy. So if we multiply it, x into x is x squared minus I into xy plus I into xy plus a minus I square into y square. X into x is x square minus I into xy plus I into xy minus I square into y square. So see that minus ixy plus ixy gets cancelled. Now I square means minus 1. We know I square means minus 1. So this becomes my x square plus y square. So it's my z into z bar. There is my left hand side, z into z bar. Now what is my mod z whole square? Now if z is equal to x plus iy, go through my previous video. Okay, go through my previous video, but again video দেখো. My mod z, if x equal to x plus iy, mod z will be root over x square plus y square. So this is called definition of modulus of z. If my z is this, my mod z, that will be this. So, and if this will give you x square plus y square, which is this. See that? These two are again equal. That means my z into z bar is equal to mod z whole square. This is also proved. Okay. And finally, my last property on complex number. My last property is Z plus Z bar is equal to 2 into what is being made of RE? RE means real part. RE means real part of the complex number, right? Real part. So Z plus Z bar. Z plus Z bar is equal to 2 into RE. RE means again real part. Real part means this part, X. X is my real part for complex numbers. So how you can prove this? Z plus Z bar. My Z is X plus IY. What is my Z bar? My Z bar, that would be X minus IY. If you add them, IY gets cancelled, it becomes twice X. Okay. Now we know what is X. X is my real part. Real part of the complex number. Real part of bracket Z maneta ki? Real part of complex number. Shirakonta, that is my X. So again, this is a very easy property by process property. Similarly, you can think what will be my Z minus Z bar. Sorry. Okay, I'm giving you homework. Okay, what is Z minus Z bar? Just think yourself. So these are some very, very interesting and important property of conjugate of a complex number. Now, based on this, we can solve an important question. This question came so many times in different university exams. The question is, mod of Z1 plus Z2 whole square plus mod of Z1 minus Z2 whole square is equal to twice mod Z1 square plus mod Z2 square. Okay. I can show this. We start with LHS. Now, we start with this mod Z1 plus Z2 whole square. How we can break this? How we can break mod Z1 plus Z2 whole square? For this, we shall apply this property. This. See that mod Z square is equal to Z into Z bar. Okay. Okay, I am writing the property again. Mod Z whole square is equal to Z into Z conjugate. Okay. I have just introduced this property. We have also proved this property. So here, let us think this one as Z. Think this one as Z. So mod Z whole square, this can be written as Z into Z conjugate. Okay. Mod Z whole square is equal to Z into Z conjugate. Clear? Think this one as Z. So mod Z square equal to Z into Z conjugate. Now that is equal to Z1 plus Z2. Now for this we can write Z1 bar plus Z2 bar. Z1 plus Z2 whole bar, that can be written as Z1 bar plus Z2 bar. What is the property? See that. This is my property number 2. This is my property number 2. Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate equal to Z1 conjugate plus Z2 conjugate. So now multiply them. Multiply them. It is Z1 into Z1 bar plus Z1 into Z2 bar plus Z2 into Z1 bar plus Z2 into Z2 bar. Now Z1 into Z1 bar, that is my mod Z1 whole square. Z1 into Z1 bar, that will be my mod Z1 whole square. This part remain as it is. This part remain as it is. Okay, and Z2 into Z2 bar. See that both suffix are equal. Both suffix are equal. So Z2 into Z2 bar, that will be mod Z2 whole square. If the suffix are equal, you can apply this property. So this is my this. Now mod Z1 minus Z2 whole square. How you can break this? Suppose this is my Z. So this is my mod Z whole square. Now I can write mod Z whole square. So this is my Z into Z bar. Say that this is my Z into Z bar. Will be my mod Z whole square. Again applying this property. Now okay, Z into Z bar. Now again by property number 2, এটাকে কিভাবে লেখা যাবে? এটাকে এভাবে লেখা যাবে z1 বার মাইনাস z2 বার। বাই প্রপার্টি নাম্বার 2 এটাকে লেখা যাবে দেখো z1 বার মাইনাস z2 বার। If we multiply z1 into z1 bar, z1 into z2 bar, z2 into z1 bar, minus minus plus z2 into z2 bar. Now z1 into z1 bar, that's my mod z1 square. This will be my no, you can't do anything. This portion given as it is. And z2 into z2 bar, that will be mod z2 whole square. So these two values are obtained like this. Now if we add them, what will be my LHS? LHS is we can add them. See that is my LHS, we have to add them. We have to add them. See that. Mod z1 plus z2 whole square plus mod z1 minus z2 whole square. If we add them, see that my value of mod z1 plus z2 square, this will be mod z1 square plus z1 into z2 bar plus z2 into z1 bar plus mod z2 whole square. This will be my mod z1 plus z2 whole square plus mod z1 minus z2 whole square. That will be mod z1 square minus z1 into z2 bar minus z2 into z1 bar plus of mod z2 whole square. Okay. Just substitute their respective values. Etar value হচ্ছে এই চারটে আর এটার value হচ্ছে এই চারটে. Just substitute their respective values. Now see that these two gets cancelled, these two gets cancelled. Okay. Now mod z1 square plus mod z1 square, that will be 2 times mod z1 square. Similarly, mod z2 square plus mod z2 square will be 2 times mod z2 whole square. And see that this is my right hand side. Take 2 common. Take 2 common. This is my right hand side. See that? My right hand side is 2. So this is a very important question for the different exam. So I solved this question and we have discussed some important properties. So in my next video, I shall discuss some more problems on different properties of conjugate, modulus, and amplitude. In my next video, I shall discuss some very, very important properties of modulus and amplitude. Okay, and after that, we shall solve some more important questions for different universities. Okay, so again, we shall meet in my next video. Till then, bye-bye.